Welcome and welcome back. We are here for a review of episode 4 of WandaVision, and it was a bit of a different one. I have to be very clear up front. This episode lost me very early. It was sort of disenchanting, but I really came back at the end of the episode because of something that happened, but not the thing that you're probably thinking of. We will get back there. This is, of course, a spoilers review of the episode. So if you have not seen the episode and you do not want to be spoiled about things, go far away now. But the first thing that was interesting here was that, so now, here we go. I'll start with some criticism. The acting in this episode was rough. Teyonah Parris, who has been great in the series thus far, and Kat Dennings, who is generally pretty decent, especially, I think, with comedic timing, both had oddly, strangely, terrible performances in this episode. And it's especially surprising to me with Teyonah Parris. This is the only thing I've ever seen her in, so I'm not sure if I'm getting her name right with pronunciation, but excuse me if I'm not. Especially because her character has been so great thus far with being confused and genuine this entire series. The first 3 episodes. Every time that she's been called out about something, it has been a great performance, and she has been a really interesting character up to this point. But in this episode, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was bad direction. I don't know if it was just terrible acting, because one of the things is that you can give a pretty good performance, but the direction itself, depending on when things are cut, when things are initiated, the different angles at which something is shot, a performance can look terrible. So I'm going to go ahead and write that off as this being a case of that. And Darcy's character, I thought, was better in the Thor movies than she was in this episode. So I don't know if this is just a strange episode. I don't know what is going on there, but that's really the only criticism I have of this episode. This episode really, really, really gave me X-Files vibes. And it was interesting to see some of the aftermath of the blip. Of the blip? The blip was when the blip was when they disappeared. I don't remember what it's called when they come back. The comebackening. Whatever it is. It was interesting to see the mayhem that sprung up around that. There were times in this episode where there was confusingly bad writing as well. Just weird little things, like the fact that Darcy doesn't think to ask other people on the bus the carrier, whatever it was. She didn't think to talk to them or ask what they do until they were at the compound. Like, I know that's something that has to be sort of, that is something that is one of those small things in the script you just write off as, okay, just movie magic. This is what we're doing here. She didn't think to talk to any of them until they were actually at the compound. Fine. But one of the areas where you had a chance to do something really, really fantastic was when Monica Rambeau woke up, came back inside that hospital room, and there was all the mayhem. Why, oh why, if you're writing that scene, do you put her in an empty room? You miss a chance for drama, for suspense, for proving something to your audience. You miss the opportunity to make a statement with symbolism, with symbology, all those sorts of things. You miss a chance to hit your viewer right in the back of the skull by putting her reanimated, we're going to come back to that, reanimated in a room with an actual patient, instead of an empty room where all of a sudden she hears commotion outside the door. Once she's outside, like I say, this performance from her was really strangely bad. Maybe it was just all of the cut scenes. Maybe I'm just not used to television. It has been over a decade since I've had a television, so maybe that's it. I don't know. Anyway, moving on from that. But yeah, so it was interesting to see some of the aftermath of that. And what that does is that plants us firmly in the world which we are currently inhabiting. And we are actually sometime after that, I think they said 3 weeks after that. That's where we find ourselves timeline-wise in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. One of the small things that really stood out to me before we get into my main thrust here was the use of recolorization and the way that this episode really sets us in contrast with Wanda's world that she has created, but also gives us a little bit of the Wizard of Oz vibe. Now, the recolorization of the world in which Wanda is living should have given us a little bit of that before now, but it was not until this episode where we have Oz. We get Oz living behind the curtain that we understand is Wanda, and we understand that Monica Rambeau is sort of the Dorothy character here. Thrust into this world, and once the thrust into this world where it becomes color, and it's all an illusion. You go from your gray world to the world of color being an illusion, the world of color being a lie, the world of color being a fiction. Here it's sort of backwards, but we are given a clue, or at least some little bit of, we're toyed with, I think, a little bit, as far as that is concerned. But the main thing I want to talk about here is magic, and the idea of different types of magic. Blood magic. Blood magic is often the most powerful kind of magic because what it is it is a barter with the other world. Blood magic is often the type of magic through which we get reanimation, through which we get zombies. Blood magic, where you offer something to the other world, is the most powerful kind of magic because what you're doing is you're bargaining with your life essence and giving some of your life essence to the world of the dead. And it was startling, I think probably to everyone, to see Vision's actual corpse walking around. We understand that the world in which Wanda is inhabiting includes Vision. We have known that the whole time. We didn't know if he was just a figment of her imagination. We did not know if he had come back to life. What we understand here is she is just reanimating his corpse. That's a zombie. That's what a zombie is. Do you know where the modern concept of zombie really comes from? There's always been reanimation of the dead in the idea of magic. You have it even in Christianity. Jesus brings back somebody's daughter, as well as obviously Lazarus. Cyrus, the daughter of Cyrus, he reanimates. So even in the Western tradition that we find ourselves in, the reanimation of corpses has long been around. The idea that we get of zombies in a contemporary sense is often credited to voodoo. The moment that brought me back, that really brought me back into this series, was the end of this episode. You know what we get at the end of this episode? We get a song. You know what that song is? That song is Voodoo Child. So, just off the top, obviously the magical implications, B, the implications of reanimation. But here's the thing I want to say about that. So okay, Voodoo Child, Wanda created children for herself in the series. Voodoo Child, Voodoo reanimation of corpses, Voodoo Child, Voodoo zombie, Vision. But I dare say, I am Marvel's key demographic. I'm a 35-year-old male. That means I was raised on Fox Kids, which means I grew up watching the X-Men cartoon. That means that I was around when comics were still cool, and then when they weren't, and then when they came back. That means that I saw in real time all of the Batman movies, all of the Marvel movies, all of the X-Men movies. Those have been my life. That has been one of the... I'm the key demographic for Marvel. Look it up. You can look it up. You can Google it. Almost none of... Marvel's key demographic is over the age of 28, I think. Most of the people watching Marvel stuff are over the age of 28. Strongly male. Predominantly white, even. I'm the key demographic. To me, that song, Voodoo Child, to me, that means something entirely different. To me, that song means Hollywood Hulk Hogan is coming. May seem irrelevant, may seem a stretch, I know, but when you're talking about the meaning of a song, a certain song to a certain demographic, to me, that song means Hollywood Hulk Hogan. What does Hollywood Hulk Hogan mean? Well, obviously, Hollywood means movie making, loosely veiled television. Hollywood, television, Wanda. But Hollywood Hulk Hogan, also meant the NWO, the New World Order. The New World Order was black and white, and then it was color. But the New World Order, biblical terms, New World Order, means the new order of the world. NWO, New World Order, Wanda, recreating the entire world. But there's another little thing that this means as well. No one saw this coming. When I say no one saw this coming, what I mean is Hollywood Hulk Hogan. No one saw Hollywood Hulk Hogan becoming Hollywood Hulk Hogan from just Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, a real American hero. Hulk Hogan, the main good guy. Hulk Hogan, everything the little kiddies wanted to grow up to be, ended up flipping to be a bad guy. Wanda's the bad guy here. Now, Wanda will have her own bad guy in the series, and I still contend, that her neighbor lady, whose Ralph we've yet to meet, is the true bad guy, the true villain. But look at it. Wanda killed all those people that set off the events of Civil War. Wanda killed Vision. Wanda got into conflict with Ultron, with the Avengers, and ended up getting her brother killed. Wanda has lost so much, and all she wants is her nice little life, her nice little slice of American pie. So she's commandeered people's lives. To these people, Wanda is definitely the bad guy. It opens us up for a little bit of real-world implication. When you've got people who are important, people who are powerful, to what are they entitled? This is the real-world implication of stuff that science fiction and fantasy is meant to exploit. But we have a little bit of the conversation here. Wanda done a whole lot for humankind, hasn't she? Wanda almost single-handedly took out Thanos in one of these movies. Wanda, very powerful. Is she entitled to the lives of other people for being a quote-unquote great person? This goes back to the idea of the great man, right? We often have tales of quote-unquote great men who weren't good people. But they were great men, just not good people. The Achilles of the world, great man, seems at times not to be a good person. But, you know, Without Achilles, how many wars would we have lost? We're getting into a little bit of God making, demigod making, and probably a little bit of bad guy creation as well. Demigods like, I don't know, Mephistopheles. So I think that we are getting into things, into themes, which are much deeper than we often credit things like superhero movies with. It is nice to see this because through 3 episodes, in fact, until that song started playing, through 4 episodes, I had nothing to talk about. I felt like an idiot doing this series because I just had nothing to talk about. There was nothing there for me to really grasp onto, nothing for me to really gain purchase to talk about themes or ideas or larger elements or anything like that. But I think we're starting to get into that realm. That is all I have for this, a review of the 4th episode of WandaVision. I will be doing these week by week until the series is done, and after that, whatever else is new on Disney Plus, I will be doing that. I don't know exactly what the timeline looks like after WandaVision. We are 4 episodes in. There are 9 episodes total. So we've got 5 weeks until hopefully something else comes along. But I hope to see you back next week for WandaVision episode 5.